Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video where we're diving into the latest updates on the proposed $2,000 stimulus check for 2025. This is a topic that's been generating a lot of buzz, especially for older adults, Social Security recipients, and those relying on pensions or benefits. My goal today is to break down everything you need to know in a clear, straightforward way so you can understand what's happening, who might qualify, and when these payments could arrive. If you find this information helpful, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. It's a great way to stay updated on important financial news that affects you. Let's get started with a clear look at what's going on with this potential stimulus check and why it matters to so many people across the country. First, let's talk about what a stimulus check is and why it's such a big deal. Stimulus checks are direct payments from the government designed to help people during tough economic times. These payments have been a lifeline for millions, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the government sent out 3 rounds of checks to help with things like rent, groceries, and medical bills. The first round in 2020 gave up to $1,200 per person. The second round later that year provided $600, and the third round in 2021 offered $1,400. These payments were meant to ease financial stress caused by job losses, rising costs, and other challenges. Now, in 2025, there's talk of a fourth stimulus check worth $2,000, and it's aimed at helping people cope with ongoing issues like inflation and increasing living expenses. This is especially important for older adults, many of whom live on fixed incomes from Social Security, pensions, or other benefits, and feel the pinch when prices for essentials like food, utilities, and healthcare go up. You might be wondering why there's so much discussion about a new stimulus check in 2025. The answer lies in the economy. Inflation has been a persistent problem, driving up the cost of everyday items. For older people, this can be particularly tough because Social Security benefits or pensions often don't stretch as far when prices rise. In 2025, Social Security benefits did get a 2.5% cost of living adjustment, which adds about $50 a month on average to retirement benefits. But many experts and retirees say this increase isn't enough to keep up with the real-world costs of things like groceries, gas, or prescription drugs. That's where the idea of a new stimulus check comes in. It's seen as a way to provide extra relief to those who need it most, like seniors, low-income families, and people with disabilities. The idea is to give a one-time payment of $2,000 to help cover these rising costs and ease financial burdens. Now, let's address the big question. Is this $2,000 stimulus check actually happening? As of August 2025, there's no official confirmation from the federal government, Congress, or the Internal Revenue Service that a $2,000 stimulus check has been approved. There's been a lot of chatter online, especially on social media, claiming that these payments are coming soon, with some even saying they'll arrive in August or September. But here's the truth. These claims are largely rumors or misinformation. The IRS and the Treasury Department have not announced any new stimulus program for 2025 beyond what was already issued in previous years. In fact, the IRS has warned people to be cautious about scams that use fake promises of stimulus checks to steal personal information. So, while the idea of a $2,000 stimulus check is exciting, it's not a done deal yet. That said, there are ongoing discussions in Congress, and some lawmakers are pushing for new relief programs, so it's worth understanding what's being proposed and how it might work if it does happen. Let's dive into the details of what a $2,000 stimulus check might look like if it gets approved. Based on how previous stimulus checks worked, we can make some educated guesses about who would qualify and how the payments would be distributed. The earlier rounds of stimulus checks targeted low- and middle-income households, and this proposed check would likely follow a similar pattern. For example, in the past, single filers with an adjusted gross income of up to $75,000 got the full payment, while married couples filing jointly could qualify with an income of up to $150,000. If your income was above these limits, the payment would phase out gradually, meaning you'd get a smaller amount or nothing at all if you earned too much. For single filers, the phase-out typically ended at $99,000, and for married couples, it was $198,000. These income limits are based on your adjusted gross income, which you can find on line 11 of your Form 1040 tax return. If a new stimulus check is approved, these thresholds might be similar, but they could also be adjusted based on economic conditions or political decisions. For older adults, especially those on Social Security, Supplemental Security Income, or Social Security Disability Insurance, eligibility is a key concern. In previous stimulus rounds, people receiving these benefits were automatically eligible for payments as long as their income fell within the limits. This was a big help because many seniors and people with disabilities live on fixed incomes that don't leave much room for unexpected expenses. If a $2,000 stimulus check is approved, it's likely that Social Security recipients, including those on SSI or SSDI, would again qualify automatically, without needing to fill out extra forms. The IRS would use the information they already have from your Social Security Administration records or your most recent tax return to determine eligibility. This is good news for older people who might find paperwork or online processes challenging. It means the process would be straightforward and automatic for most. Another group that might benefit from a new stimulus check is families with dependents. In the past, stimulus checks included extra payments for qualifying children under 17. And the third round in 2021 even expanded to include adult dependents, like college students or disabled adults. For example, the third stimulus check gave an extra $1,400 per dependent, which was a huge help for families supporting multiple people. If a new $2,000 stimulus check happens, it's possible that similar rules would apply, with additional payments for dependents. There's also been talk of a petition signed by over 3 million Americans calling for recurring $2,000 payments for adults and $1,000 for children, though this is just a proposal and not a law. If this idea gains traction, it could mean even more support for families. But for now, we're focusing on the one-time $2,000 payment that's being discussed. Let's talk about when these payments might arrive if they get approved. Timing is always a big question with stimulus checks because people need the money as soon as possible. Based on how previous rounds worked, payments would likely start rolling out a few weeks after Congress passes a bill and the president signs it into law. The IRS has gotten pretty good at distributing these payments quickly. For example, in 2020 and 2021, direct deposits started hitting bank accounts within 2 to 4 weeks of approval. If you have your bank information on file with the IRS, you'd likely get the money fastest through direct deposit. For those without direct deposit set up, paper checks or prepaid debit cards would take longer, usually 4 to 8 weeks. Some sources have speculated that a new stimulus check could start being distributed as early as mid-2025, possibly around April or May. But this depends on when or if the government approves the program. There's also the 2025 presidential election to consider, which could affect the timing. Payments might be pushed before or after the election, depending on political priorities. One thing to keep in mind is that not all stimulus payments come from the federal government. Some states have their own relief programs, and these can be a great source of extra help. For example, California has a middle-class tax refund program that gives payments of $200 to $1,050 to eligible residents, based on their income and filing status. New York is offering inflation relief checks of $150 to $400 for people who meet certain income requirements. Other states like Colorado, Pennsylvania, and Georgia are also providing rebates or tax refunds to help with inflation. These state programs often have different rules than federal stimulus checks, so it's worth checking your state's Department of Revenue website to see if you qualify. For older adults, these state payments can be just as important as a federal check, especially if you're struggling to make ends meet.